Hey, awesome people. Welcome back to the channel. Back to Bear Studio. Hope you're enjoying the videos that I've been creating lately. I know I have a lot of work to do in regards to video finesse and all of that, editing and all those things. I literally, I'm a fucking amateur, so please bear with me. But hopefully you like my passion and my purpose, which is to enjoy and share my enjoyment of all things pop culture, and to tell stories like the story time episodes and really get into that. Once I figure out how to actually film another show while at the same time reacting to it, I'll be doing that as well. So I honest to God can't think of that, like figure it out. It's all blacked out every time I try. So if somebody knows, please tell me how you're doing that. I see tons of reaction videos. The only thing I can think is people are recording using their phones, like recording another screen somehow with their phone or with a camera. Because there just seems to be copyright blocks when you're trying to record the screen itself. So, anywho's, if you do know, please let me know because that'd be great. So we got The Last of Us episode 9. We are in our last. This was the season 1 finale, and it was titled "Look for the Light." Which was apropos. Anybody that's played the game knows that The Last of Us, the first part 1, has one of the best endings of any game. I think it is the best ending of any game that I have ever played, just in terms of its emotional weight and its impact and the way it doesn't like spoon feed you some sort of happy bullshit ending. It is true to life. It is brutal, but it is also filled with such wonderful human sincerity and hope. And just love. It's not even hope, because hope means that there's going to be some brighter tomorrow. And that's not really what the ending of The Last of Us is doing. It's basically just shows the beautiful tragedy and consequence of loving somebody and giving a fuck about them and where that could take you. And sometimes that's to a place full of light, and some place that's a place full of darkness, and sometimes it's a swirl like you get at a yogurt shop. And, in this situation, it is such a mixed bag, what Joel ends up doing to save Ellie. And, was it worth it? Would she think that it was worth it? And, a lot of that's resolved in part 2. Again, this is spoiler. If you don't want this spoiled for you, please stop now, but do come back. I would appreciate it. I want people to participate with the channel, so if you can leave your comments and your thoughts and feelings in regards to the episode. I will not block anybody unless you're being an asshole and attacking myself or others. That's completely unnecessary in life. That's definitely a choice, and those choices have consequences, which means getting blocked. So The Last of Us episode 9, it starts out with we are introduced to Ellie's mother. This was something that is never mentioned in the games necessarily. She has a note from her mom, but they never do like a flashback or have any kind of sequence in regards to Ellie's mom. And we meet Anna, and she's played by Ashley Johnson, who actually voiced and did the character work for Ellie in the first 2 games with Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann as the director. So really cool to have her getting to play this part. She's severely pregnant with Ellie, basically giving birth while she's being chased by one of the infected. And she tries to barricade herself in a house, and the infected breaks in, and there's a struggle. And during the struggle, she basically gives birth to Ellie, but she's also bit. And so she goes and quickly cuts the umbilical cord, but what we learn, and they never really super imply it, or it's implied, I should say, but they never directly say it, is that that's how Ellie develops her immunity to the cordyceps infection. She is subjected to a minimal amount prior to her mom cutting the cord, and her body develops this immunity with the cordyceps as she develops and grows. And so by the time she's bit as a teenager, it never fully takes over, and she's able to stay, her human self. So anyway, of course Anna has to die because she's been bit, and she asks Marlene from the Fireflies to kill her. and to take her baby, Ellie, who she's named Ellie. And, Marlene basically agrees to take the child, since Anna and her have known each other since they were forever, basically, their whole lives. And it's really sad and tragic and fits perfectly with the Last of Us universe. And then we cut back to Joel and Ellie in the present, and Joel is doing all he can to try to help get Ellie out of the stupor that she's in after her run-in with David and the trauma that she experienced there. You could tell she's very traumatized and withdrawn and disconnected from her emotional self. And it's sad. And again, Bella Ramsey and her acting, she played that so well. Throughout this entire episode, she played that so well. And then Pedro and his acting, again, top notch, man. These are hats off to Neil and Craig Mazin for picking them as the two main leads, because they have such they're just enjoyable to watch. Really enjoyable to watch, and the way that they can emote in a very... They're just good to watch. I can say this better. They're not over the top, but they're also... I always get annoyed when people are like, oh my God, such hammy acting. I'm like, well, I need to know what it is that you're doing. I don't want to sit there and have to pick apart your little lip twitch to determine how it is that you're experiencing a situation. Humans aren't like that. I mean, some are, but they're not my favorite. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling, right? So they do a great job of living in a real moment as a human being. And I think that's the best acting, right? Sometimes things call for somebody to be screaming and having a fit, And these two, Bella and Pedro, do amazing as Joel and Ellie. I just hats off to them sincerely. Anyway, so they're in Salt Lake City now, and again, Ellie is distraught and she's not even distraught. She's just withdrawn. She's hurt, and David nearly killed her, and it was incredibly upsetting for both of them. And Joel, and again, I'm totally stealing this from the podcast, the Last of Us podcast, but it goes back to episode 3 when Ellie, is doing all she can to try to get Joel to come out of his shell and for him to talk and to share and to communicate with her and to connect. And now the roles have reversed, and Joel is doing all that he can to get her to come out of her shell. And then there's the beauty, if you've played the game, there's that beautiful giraffe scene where she goes and they see the giraffes in the field outside of the big building that they're in, and the giraffe comes up and is eating the leaves and stuff, and they interact. And I discovered today that that's a real giraffe named Nadu, I believe its name is, or Nado. And that was really cool. I was wondering, I'm like, is that a real giraffe? CGI is so good these days. I'm like, is that real? But you can usually tell with animals if they're fake or not. And I couldn't with this, so that makes sense. And she feeds the giraffe, and you can see her, that withdrawn part of her breaks away for a little bit, and she's able to come back out and embrace the world. And that's kind of like the scene they have there as they're looking out over Salt Lake City, and she talks about how she'd follow him anywhere, if this doesn't work out. And Joel also in that moment around that time has this heart to heart with her about how, and this is one of the best moments, I think, in terms of Pedro Pascal. If he ends up getting an Emmy, it's going to be for this scene where he talks about how she's the one that basically healed his heart and healed his mind. And it was beautiful. And a couple of tears come to his eyes, and Ellie sees the hugeness of it, and both of them are kind of embarrassed but embrace it at the same time, and it's such a beautiful moment. That's not in the game. It's a little bit more distant in the game, but this was a little bit more direct about what it is that they're sharing and how much they mean to one another. And so the Fireflies find them, and they basically take Ellie, and they're going to go and operate on her, and the only way that they can turn her immunity into a possible vaccine is by killing her. They have to take her brain, which has the cordyceps infection in it, and then they have to basically take that and turn it into a vaccine. Joel wakes up after they punch him in the face with the butt of a gun. I don't know. question. Like in movies, people get hit in the head with the butts of guns all the time and they get knocked out. It seems like that would be more of a lingering injury, like concussion, but I digress. Anyway, so he comes out of this and is like, where's Ellie? And Marlene tells him, we're going to have to kill her. And this means a lot to me too. I promised that I would protect her forever. And Joel is basically, as he's being walked out, he decides he's going to have none of this. He's not losing Sarah, aka Ellie, again. And he will do all that he can. And he basically goes on a murder rampage throughout this hospital, killing everybody without a thought. You can just see the blankness in his face. He is completely checked out as he goes about this business of saving her. He's not going to let her die, even if it means saving humanity. He makes this choice for her. I'm not going to let her die, and I will kill anybody that tries to stop me. And he does, including Marlene. And and the episode ends exactly the way that the episode ends exactly the way the game ended, which is, Ellie telling him, asking him, are you telling me the truth? Is what happened with the Fireflies exactly as you said it? And he lies to her and says yes. And what's amazingly complex about the game or this ending is you can't tell if Ellie believes him or not. And you don't know if she's just like, the way I interpret it is no, she doesn't, but she accepts what it is that he's saying and she decides she's going to go with it. That she is aware that he is not telling her the full truth, but she loves him enough and wants to continue to move forward enough that she decides she's going to accept this lie as her truth and just move forward that way. And so that's the reason why it's like so powerful what it is that they end up doing here, how they end up leaving that, because it's not fully resolved, and there is some resolution that we end up getting there's some resolution that we end up getting in part 2 in regards to this. There's quite a bit of resolution that we get in part 2. It completely changes the whole dynamic of this. But yeah, so this was the end of it. Part 9 or episode 9, it was kind of a bit. I loved the Anna part where we get to learn about how Ellie became immune or more understanding, anyways, of how that happened. The episode itself felt a little lackluster to me. I felt a little emotionally removed from it. It could have been just that I had to stop the episode multiple times because shit was happening around me. So it was difficult for me to feel really emotionally as invested. I also know this ending really well. Again, it's one of my favorites. I know how this goes. And it's also a direct retelling of the game for the most part. So there's really no surprises. I knew where this was headed. But again, Bella and Pedro's performance and the cinematography and the way that they framed everything and the setups and the scenes, again, were all such masterful work. The music and the score that they tied into it, I thought were great. There's this very heavy score that they play while Joel's going on this murder rampage to go get Ellie in the hospital. And that's very, evokes a lot of emotion. Or at least it should. I wasn't necessarily caught up in it. I had a hard time super connecting with this particular episode. I wasn't super moved by it. My favorite part, again, about it was that part that they created where Joel talks about how Ellie is the one that helped heal him. She was the one that, her being there and her being who she is the one that helped heal him from his trauma. And then unfortunately they all get traumatized all over again. So it's kind of sad. But that's life. There is no guarantee that even after you heal, a bus isn't going to come and hit you the next day. So, it's just the way that goes. And it's beautiful and it's bittersweet. And, it is as it is, right? So with season 1 done, I want to do my rating for this. So The Last of Us season 1, we've got acting and characters, absolute 10. So acting and characters, and then we have, let me bring up my review points. So characters and acting, definite 10. Writing and story, definite 10. There's just no better story than that. Set design, cinematography, and score. Cinematography and score especially, I would do a 10. Some of the set designs, I would give that probably a 9. I'll split the difference, say 9.5. The direction, this is where I thought some of the episodes were stronger than in others, just in terms of pacing, in terms of the way that they move things along, the overall creative force of it. And you go back to the penultimate episode for me of the whole season is episode 3 with Bill and Frank, and the way that story was told, the way that they bookmarked it with Joel and Ellie, the way that the heart and the anchor of Bill and Frank's story and their love, because everything about The Last of Us is all about love and the expressions of love and what it is that we do for love, and how it hurts us and how it gives us purpose. And episode 3 captures all of that in such a masterful way. So that was the episode 10, or I would give that an absolute 10. And then the rest of them are kind of a mixed bag. Like this, I would probably say is a 7. It didn't super inspire me. It was very much just following the game. Again, you can't get better necessarily than the game, so it's not necessarily a super critique, but at the same time, with this medium, I was hoping for something maybe a little bit more tight and nuanced or moving in a way, and I just wasn't super connected into it. So I would say direction overall for this would be a 8. So we got 10, 10, 9.5, and an 8. And if we do our little calculator, not calendar, calculator, sorry, 10 plus 9.5 plus 8. That's 37.5. Divide that by 40. So that gives us a 93.7. Let's round up. So this gives us an A, which makes sense. So The Last of Us Season 1, definite A. Wonderful show. One of the best TV show adaptations, or best TV shows, regardless of where it comes from, that I've ever seen. And definite A. I highly recommend it if you haven't watched it yet. I also, if you're a video gamer at all, or if you'd ever like to start getting into video games, The Last of Us Part 1 is probably a wonderful way to get that started. The PC version comes out on March 28th. And it's also, I have an ultra-wide monitor. I love it. It's going to be in ultra-wide. It's going to be compatible for that. So you can just see the world full on, like in this 32 by 9 window into the Last of Us universe. So I probably will buy this game for the 4th time when that eventually comes out. So yeah, Neil Druckmann, Craig Mazin, Bella, Pedro, thank you so much for all of your hard effort and your work. You guys did amazing. I am so looking forward to season 2 and seeing the direction you take in that very complex, haunting storyline. So yeah, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Stay awesome. Bye.